I can use my nickname, right?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So my name is Bird.
All right. So you know what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about church hurt. Can you tell me the first church hurt that, you experienced?
So the first church hurt that I experienced was at my former church in Newark. Our pastor retired and we got a new pastor. But during that transition period, there were things that were said and done against the former pastor that was not Christian. I'll put it that way.
Oh, okay.
And so this person, that was the only pastor that I really knew growing up at that church.
Mm-hmm.
And I really respected him. He was very honorable, very honest, open, and he always did things from a biblical perspective.
Okay.
When he was retiring, and we had like a building fund, and we had raised all this money for the new church to be built. Unfortunately, he relocated to North Carolina before we moved into the new church.
Gotcha.
So the new pastor came in, and the new pastor was great when he first got there, but I noticed when he got there, people started singing a different tune. And bad mouthing the former pastor. And so I had a lot of animosity towards some of the people whom I grew up with in the church.
Right.
And then it was like, all right, I gotta forgive him, move on, And things got better. We started having Bible study. We started all these new groups and stuff like that. It was really going well. And then one day, things just kind of went over the cliff.
What does that mean?
So the new pastor decided to make some changes. Usually when changes are made, we'll have a meeting with the church members and stuff like that. And one meeting we had on a Monday evening, it was like, all right, so we're going to take some votes tonight, and this is what we're voting on. And it was like, we didn't even have a discussion about this.
Oh.
And then the pastor was there. That was weird too.
Okay.
So he was like, you know what, I could do it. I could tell it better. So he came up and he went through these various topics. So we're going to vote on this topic. Number 1. My salary. And then the next topic we're going to vote on is we're going to change the steward board and the trustee board, and we're going to change this. And it was like, this is a lot. And so it was like, you know what, we're going to table this. We'll reschedule the meeting. So they had another meeting and they invited people. Everybody wasn't invited this time. So there would normally be like 60 people at this meeting.
Oh.
But like less than half was at the meeting where the decisions were made. Some people just said, let's just see where this goes. And it was all downhill from there. Misappropriation of funds, misuse or mismanagement of property, things like that. Perfect example. We didn't have enough money to cover all the bills. And then we had a good offering that week. And the pastor decided, you know what, I don't want a check. I want you to give me cash. So cash my checks. And it's like, as a leader of the church, shouldn't you put the church needs first?
Okay, so how did it affect your walk?
It did.
It did?
It did.
How?
I started to pull back a lot. I don't want to say angry, but angry towards the leadership.
Right.
Angry toward people who I had walked beside for years growing up. And I had used to respect them.
Were you angry at God?
Not at first.
Not at first.
Not at first.
So when did that change?
Maybe 2 or 3 years later. I had went to the pastor's house for a meeting, and they were meeting about some things that I wasn't supposed to know about. And it was like a dictatorship. I'm like, God, how could you allow this?
And then how soon after that did you leave the church?
Maybe a year. After a while, I was like, I gotta go. I wasn't growing. I was harboring resentment, and it wasn't healthy.
Right. And so then when you left the church, did you find a new church?
So we church hopped. I tried to be done with God. Like, Lord, you know what? This is not working.
Right.
Because I can't trust you. And it was like questioning. I don't want to give up on God. Because if he is real, I don't want to spend eternity in hell.
There you go.
And so I think that was my motivation to try to hold on to my faith. Then it was like I would pray for things and be like, here you go again, just like my earthly father abandoning me. Oh, you not a man that I shall lie, but I have yet to see you at work. Where's the evidence?
And so when you landed at the church that you're now at, have you encountered any sort of, hurt in this new church?
Yes. But I think my response was different this time.
It's really good that, you didn't let what happened in the past dictate what you're now doing in your present church.
Right. It did at first. When I first came to my present church, I didn't want to be involved in anything.
Oh.
I just wanted to come to church, get the word, and go home.
The church that you're now at, it's bigger than the one you were before.
10 times as big.
10
and
times.
I think that's why I went, because it was bigger. I felt like nobody would notice.
Anonymity.
Yes. You go to the big, you leave the fish tank and jump into the ocean and nobody notices
Nobody notices.
At least that's what I thought. But needless to say, over time, eventually the walls started falling down.
Oh, nice.
And so I was there maybe a year or so before I really started allowing people in.
So even though you've had, hurt in this church, the experience is a lot different.
Very different. Very different. Now I understand that some experiences, positive or negative, are meant to grow you, not necessarily to hurt you.
Right.
And so now when you're hurt by the church, it's not necessarily God that's hurting you.
Right.
It's people's disobedience. And I think I realize that now, and that makes a huge difference.
Right.
Now it's like, no, you're human, you have a choice. He can tell you to go left, but if you don't want to go left, you're not going to go left.
Right.
And so I started separating God's will from man's will.
Gotcha.
And so now when something goes awry, it's like, that's not God's will. I need to pray for that person and not always get mad at God.